So thanks everybody for joining. I'll just do a quick intro. I'm Dan Neiman. I'm the CRO over here at Hevo. I've been in and around the data integration analytics space for probably 20 years now, doing a series of startups that were sold to companies like Informatica and Alteryx. So thrilled to be here with you today. Even more thrilled to be joined by one of our customers, Giovanna Damasceno. Hopefully I didn't wreck that.
Yes,
And Giovanna is
perfectly.
from, perfect. Giovanna's from SalesRabbit's. So before we kind of get into the topic of the day, which is Lean Team Big Data, maybe Giovanna, you can kick things off just by introducing yourself, your role, and a little bit about SalesRabbit.
Yes, of course. Hello, everybody. I'm really glad to be here. Introducing myself, I'm Giovanna Damasceno, as Daniel shared. I have been an analytics engineer at SalesRabbit's since 2022, but I have more than 80 years working with data across other companies. Giving a quick introduction about the company, SalesRabbit works to develop field sales software management solution for door-to-door sales teams. And as the industry leader, our customers use our platform to enable thousands of sales reps to operate daily at peak performance through intrinsic team motivation, effective research manager, and sales mastery development. So at the company, my main goal here is to allow business areas and our customers to extract value from the data available on our platform. Today, basically, I do this by building data pipelines to make our data available in a centralized way and easily accessible for the entire company, and prepare the data to be consumed by the business areas. So that's my goals now on SalesRabbit.
So I was pretty impressed when I heard about SalesRabbit. So it's essentially a very customized CRM system that is attuned to organizations that have thousands of reps. How many customers do you guys have?
They vary about the number of reps, the size of the company. So we have different plans to attend different demands from the sizes, and also the different demands about the industries that we work with. So we have companies from solar, for roofing, home improvements. So yeah, it's a pretty interesting background to work with.
Awesome. It's a good segue to the topic of the day, which is Lean Team Big Data, because the more I kind of learned about SalesRabbit, I kind of figured out the scale of the data, the complexity of the data, and understanding your business was pretty interesting about what you're trying to do. So to kind of kick things off on the topic,
Yes.
I know you guys essentially came to a realization that you needed to take a different path, right? And you needed to build a data-driven culture and needed to figure out sort of how to modernize what you're doing. Maybe you could just start off by saying, what were your first steps on the path here? How did you get started?
Nice. Go ahead. So the initial stage in exploring data involves grasping the existing data landscape within your organization. It's important to know your context. So this involves identifying individuals within the company who are interested in data or who work closely with basic metrics, such as those in financial or marketing teams that more frequently are looking to metrics, even when we don't have a data platform. So by understanding the existing context and the resources that your company has, you can basically better access the difficulties and the opportunities for starting a data-driven approach. So some crucial questions to consider here, I would say the first one, what is the scale of your company? This will help you to understand more the challenges and how to resolve them to avoid you to planning to work with a big stuff that but when you need just a big small problem to resolve. So understand the scale of our company, it's really important. The second one is understand how large is your team. So we have a big team that can build solutions from scratch, or we have a lean team, as our case, and we need to go from solutions that can automatize some process and some jobs. So understand this is important also. How much budget do you have available to allocate to data-driven initiatives? So of course, every initiative costs money, and we need to understand how much you have to work with. So it's really important to define this. And above all, what are your specific needs and goals with this? You need to understand why we will start some kind of data-driven initiative or build a data-driven team. So if you don't have a goal defined, it's pretty important that you have one before start. So answering these questions, I believe that will help you to create a clear strategy to build a data-driven team.
I love the last one the most. I always say, like, no one does integration for fun, right? It's difficult.
Exactly.
It's challenging. So like no one does this for fun. So there's got to be a reason. There's got to be a goal in mind.
Exactly.
That being said, maybe you can tell us a little bit about your goals, your challenges. Again, I was particularly impressed to understand the scale of the operation with such a small team. Maybe you can talk a little bit about, why you guys started this in the first place, and some of what's going on from a data integration challenge on your side.
Yes. The SalesRabbit's is a company with slightly over 100 employees. And like many companies of our size, we face growth challenges, of course. However, from a data perspective, our main challenge is related to the operating in a multi-tenant environment. So we have 3 main database instances with an average of 1,000 schemas each, and this is more than 600,000 tables. So this resulting in several different schemas and tables to manage and extract data without negative impact to the production environment, which is very important. So before implementing our data platform, we had really, really difficult accessing and extracting even basic reports related to the data of our applications. So this is the main goal here with the initiative.
Yeah, super interesting, right? So you bring up right out the gate. So like, hey, you're trying to replicate data, 600 something thousand tables without impacting the production system.
Exactly.
And did you have any specific latency, thoughts about how often are you sucking the data out of those tables?
Yes, of course. So some important points here that I could share. About the latency, we extract data every 5 minutes. So this is pretty huge, pretty nice. But we just ingest each hour. So we don't have this demand to ingest, but the data is already available, waiting to ingest in the destination. So it's pretty nice be able to do that with Evo. But I also would say that we selecting the tables. We don't bring every table to the destination. We select something like 30-40% of the tables, and we bring this on the pipeline. And when we have the demand to add a new table that we already have on the source but not in the destination, we can just include on the pipeline. So we have this facility also. So with this, we can basically work better with the demand and manage better this amount of table that we have.
So, well, speaking of managing it better, so what drove you to start, a path of changing your infrastructure in the first place? So you are obviously I don't know exactly what infrastructure you guys had in place, but what were you doing before, and what drove you to start to look for another approach?
So before transitioning to a new solution, we have experimented with other options, including one that served us for a year. However, we encountered some drawbacks, particularly a significant price increase after the first year with our growth. So this increase was a problem for us to resolve. Therefore, we initiated a serious search for a new solution as we don't want to change, of course, again after 1 year. So we sought a data integration solution that offered a balance between cost effectiveness and reliability, given the complexity of our multi-tenant environment. Additionally, we need a solution with a user-friendly interface or an API to streamline the management of this number of databases, because of course, do some tasks manually was not an option with this volume. So these are basically our considerations to move to another solution.
So it sounds like total cost of ownership, but also reliability and user interface were a couple things that were really driving you guys to want to make a change. Can you double click on reliability a little bit? I know this is essentially the SalesRabbit usage data. I know it's production data. Double click on reliability and tell me a little bit more about sort of what you mean and what you were challenged with and what were you looking for.
Yes, of course. We have a solution that served well about reliability also, but when we move to a new solution, we need to define and understand if we can rely on the data that we will be delivered by this solution, right? So we looking for a solution that basically allow us to understand if the data was being delivered, if the quality of this data, some way to monitoring the amount of data that are being extracted and ingested on the destination, and bring us light on the problems, because we know that problems happen on this kind of process with this amount of data, but we need tools that bring some light on this problem and help us to solution this, to make everything ingest on the destination very well in a correctly way and with precisely a number of rows and with the correct data type. So this was we are looking when we start to looking for other solutions.
Got it. Got it. Okay, so small team, bunch of customers, tons of schemas, tons of data, and you guys have figured out, hey, both because of cost, but also because of reliability, we want to do something else. So you want to make a change, but how did you start the evaluation about what other tools are out there? What was in your selection set? Tell me a little bit more about how you kind of kicked off the tool selection process and what your criteria were.
Yes. There are some important points here to consider when choose a data pipeline platform. I believe that first of all, you need to define what type of data you have. Is there any specific demand? Unstructured databases, geographic data types, maybe graph databases. It's necessary to know the scenarios and define each one in terms of importance for the business, as the absence of one important connector can eliminate an option from your list. So understand this context is pretty important. Also define a list of functionalities that you would like to have on the platform, be it data extraction method or pipeline management or data transformation with some kind of languages or scripting tools, availability of one API or something else. You need to define this list. And it would be helpful, of sure, to have someone with experience making this decision, because we know that a lot of problems and challenges that we face on this kind of migration, we just face it when we are working with it. So experience here can be a valuable thing to looking for on these definitions. All these definitions will help you to clarify each tool and test it in an objective way, in addition to the price and your budget limitations. Because frequently we look to the price and we look if we have the main study case, but we lose many of the details on the process. So this list
Right. There's a
could
trade-off
help us.
between the price and the
Yeah,
breadth.
exactly. So get this list done can help us to evaluate the tools more clearly. And for us specifically, cost was our primary consideration, given that we already had a functional solution, but needed a more affordable option. Following cost, we prioritize reliability of, as we already said, as the accuracy and dependability of our data are essential for us and for our customers. And finally, we consider usability, focus on how easily we could configure the platform to handle our large number of databases. Just only me, if I spend too much time configuring it, this could be a problem. And ultimately, we aim for a solution, of course, that offer the best balance of these factors. So we will never be always cost, will never be always usability. So we need, and we're looking for a balance about these factors.
Yeah. So, in terms of breadth, it's connectivity, but also, I know in your case, you're capturing changes off the database, change data capture. So you have all that stuff. But I guess, one question I would have for you, is there anything specific that was a non-negotiable for you? Something that was like super critical that helped you guys decide what to move forward with?
For sure, a non-negotiable functionality includes the robust monitoring capabilities. For sure, tracking the pipeline and performance, the numbers of rows that are extracted, ingest, and track if happens some problems is pretty important to get a reliable pipeline. Also, we have automated configurations to simplify database management, one key feature that we needed. And the API access for scripting and customization was another non-negotiable option that we got, because as we have a lot of databases, different tables, so we need to have a way to do some specific and customized solutions in some cases that we need, for example, activate one specific table or change something in some specific object. So have these three functionalities was really important for us. And for sure, these features enhance efficiency and ensure scalability, particularly in complex environments like ours. So I should say that this would be the important one.
So having some flexibility around how you're managing the schemas, etc., sounds like a pretty important thing. Cool.
Yes.
Okay, so now you've kind of figured out your key criteria, figured out how you're moving forward. Tell me a little bit about some of the best practices in actually doing the migration itself. So now you've said, okay, hey, we understand that we want to switch frameworks. We understand our key evaluation criteria. We've selected our vendor. What happens next? Like, tell me about some of the best practices in actually getting going.
Of course. I believe the first step is to research data architecture patterns to avoid null problems. We know that many companies, other teams already do the same. So the data architecture patterns are there to use it. So we need to avoid some kind of mistakes, right? So research the first step. Establishing clear name conventions, defining data types, and documenting our architecture is also another important step. This will allow us to maintain the standardization and share this knowledge with other teams and other people from engineering or products that are interested on this piece of the technology from the business. Also, adherence to these standards ensure consistency and simplify the migration process. So it's not easy to migrate a pipeline of these dimensions. So if we maintain these standards, I can say for sure that this will help you when you migrate your solutions, or even if you create a new one from scratch, because you don't have to be created to create names, to create or define some things, because we already have a structure pattern to follow. Some Evo features were really important in this process, like allowing us to define prefixes in the destination. This one particularly seems that it's a really small feature, but it's really helpful. Could be able to give a really understandable name for the destination. So these prefixes organize better our destinations and help us to identify the tables in the end. Automatic mapping definitions, because imagining me define manually thousands of tables is not practical. And another feature is the possibility of making transformations between the extraction and ingestion process. This one particularly I will not use yet, because we have a pretty straightforward extraction ingestion pipeline, but calls my attention because it's really normal that some transformations need to be made in this process. So be able to do this with drag and drop option, or even with Python scripts, this caught my attention in Evo. Additionally, one that was huge for us was the opportunity to merge tables in the destination with identical schemas across different databases, reducing redundancy and simplify a lot the data management. What I mean about merging tables. So for example, we have multiple identical schemas, identical structure, of course. So let's say we have one user table for each database. So we have thousands of user tables in the source, and we should have thousands of user tables on the destination. With this feature on Evo, we can got one unique final user table on the destination for all these 1,000 user tables from stores, because as the schema is the same, Evo allow us to merge all the roles in the solution. So this help a lot. Our pipeline gives me time, a lot of time back, avoid me to need to do this merge, and make really easy the process of deal with this data for the next steps before deliver it in the destination. So this is one that it's really huge for us.
Awesome. Yeah, so we've touched on TCO, we've touched on reliability. It sounds like, again, flexibility coming up here, where whether it's schema management on the target side or doing transformations prior to sort of ingesting the data into your target, all key features for you. In terms of the process of, so we know some of the key features, we understand some of the key things you're looking for. Can you tell me a little bit more about the process involved in evaluating the tools themselves?
Yes, of course. So as a first step, being really practical, as the first step, I look at some like 10 tools that do the same process according to the documentation, websites, and the basic stuff available to see which one supported our case. So I consider the existence of our necessary connectors, the existence of an API, available support, expected cost when if it's showed on the website. So from this list, I kept 6 tools. to do a trial as a proof of concept. And using the tools was really crucial to understand what day-to-day life would be like using each of the solutions. The key factors that influenced our decision were the ease of use and robust support offered by Evo as a solution. Of course, cost was another important factor, but it wasn't the cheapest tool. But it was definitely the most cost effective and the best suited to our scenario. So this is where I found the balance, as I said in the beginning. Since the implementation, we have observed tangible benefits such as cost reduction, improved data accessibility, and streamlined data management process. But while precision metrics may be challenging to quantify this, the overall impact on our data operations has been really significant. So we unblock a lot of questions that product team and business are not able to ask it before. So this is huge for operations and for the business in general, get these questions answered. And of course, this generates more questions, as we know that happen. When the team become data-driven, they start to ask more and more questions. So has when you have a tool that can help you to automatize this process to get and access more sources, this is really huge, and we gain a lot of performance on the daily basis. So this is really important.
Yeah, so the bummer about visibility to data, right, is that it gets more questions, which means more pipelines. So
always, exactly.
vicious circle. You actually brought up another point, which I thought was interesting to call out, which is support. Any specific comments? So first off, hats off to the Hevo support team out there. Anything that particularly stuck out in your mind on that front?
This is really interesting because from that step to analyzing other tools, I could eliminate some because of the support. And I could say that for sure about tech tools, Evo support is the best. And it impressed me because in general, we don't get too much from support teams about technical tools because we know that they depend a lot of engineering to solve the problems or the product team to prioritize some features. So this is really nice to found in a tech company called Evo. So I have to get a shout out to the support team from you guys because they are really amazing. And they already have a lot of work with me to answer questions and help me to do things that I don't know how to do yet. So this really, really nice, and they save a lot of time from me already.
Awesome. Well, I think you've hit on a bunch of really important pieces around tool selection, whether it's observability and reliability or TCO or whatever. So I think you've given folks a good handle on sort of your key criteria. I think super interesting to hear about, sort of the goals that you set forward. And it sounds like happily you're meeting some of those goals around total cost of ownership and observability. Hopefully the audience has gained a little bit about, how you guys took your steps to being more data-driven, the framework that you guys use to take next steps and modernize your data platform. And even some of the best practices in terms of migrating off of the tool, off of your current infrastructure onto Hevo. I guess any other thoughts from you before we maybe take some questions from the audience? Anything else that stands out to you in terms of any of the features or any of the specific challenges that you want to mention?
Yes. I would like to address this one important point. There's a challenge when we are working on a project like this, like a migration tool, or when we are adopting a new tool that's related to the stakeholder expectation. I believe that this is a point that's important to address, because we know that managing stakeholders' expectations involves transparent communication about the data integration process. It's important to include them into the steps that is needed to deliver what need to do deliver. So here on the SalesRabbit, we have a very clear case for change tools in this moment when we arrive on Evo. Then we would need to migrate the active pipelines in the older solution to the new one. But I believe that would be interesting to talk about how we initially select the first case and how manage stakeholders on this, because everyone needs something. But our application related data was becoming crucial for some business analysis, and not being able to access these sources basically started to leave open countless business questions. So we resolved this scenario was a cross-company use case. So I believe that this decision, looking for a cross-company use case, was an important decision to start bring value for all stakeholders at the same time. Since then, we have prioritized data initiatives that are aligned with business strategic plan, always looking at the metrics and goals of each quarter. Also, as only I work in the data extraction flow within the engineering, I maintain directly contact with the CTO to obtain strategic and tactical alignment. That's why we meet weekly to make adjustment and to understand if we are on the correct direction about what was planned for the quarter whenever necessary. So I believe that this contact with the CTO is really important to give me direction. But also it's very important to maintain contact with product leaders and other areas to understand existing demands and prioritize them with this direction that the CTO gave to me. So it's pretty important that we make all transparent to the people to understand what I am doing, and I am saying what the data team are doing in your cases, what we are doing, why, what kind of direction we are using to prioritize all the demands, because the demands are cross company. So it's pretty important to make it clear and aligned to the business strategic plan to avoid problems about the prioritization and make everyone on the same page about all the initiatives that are ongoing and that will be doing in the future. So I believe that's an important point to address too.
Absolutely. So transparency, not only in your data pipeline platform, but in your project, right? So
exactly.
in an analytics group, you're in the eye of the storm between the business functional leaders who are looking for the data, the technical team who's building the data platform, and you're out there building those pipelines. So yeah, super good point to make. I guess with that, maybe we should take a look at and see if there's any questions out there, and see if there's anybody who's got any questions. Please type them into the chat, and I guess we'll field them from there. But again, Giovanna, love to hear about the use case, and obviously doing database replication, supporting thousands of customers and hundreds of thousands of databases, and modernizing your stack. Super interesting story, and hopefully useful to a bunch of folks out there. So let's see.
Yes, I'm really glad to share this, because I truly believe that with so many options in the market, it's really hard to define a way that's straightforward enough to define the tool we will work with. So it's pretty important to define some details and some work list to prioritize, metric, understand all the tools that we have available, and decide and help with this decide which one choose, right? Because it's a pretty tough choose to make.
Yeah. Well, like I said, no one does integration for fun. So the fact that you transitioned off of some architecture onto Hevo, I think speaks miles to what we can offer over here.
Yes, exactly.
So let's see. Any questions from the audience? Anybody out there? Questions about the use case for Giovanna? Questions about Hevo for me? Technical questions? I guess we didn't cover a lot about what your database sources are. Maybe you could comment on that a little bit, see if that piques any interest.
Yes, of course. Our main case is around MySQL databases. So all the biggest volume of our sources is related to it. But we have today, after a lot of months work with Evo, we already use a lot of other connectors. So we are using also Pardot connector to extract information about prospects into our data lake. We are using some Postgres connectors also, Google Analytics. So there is some basic straightforward tools that any company has used to work with. So this is really nice. But for sure, our more complex context is related to MySQL. And even the technology, the MySQL has some points that make it a little difficult, but with Evo, it's pretty straightforward. With make all the process of extract the data without impact production was really important.
Awesome. Well, let's see. I'm going to go out and take another look. If there's no other questions, I guess we can close it down. Oh, here we go. Here's a question. Great. Are you seeing that on your side, Giovanna?
Okay, yes. What timelines worked with Friend and Evo 100% deployment for our company? Okay. Of my size, this is a pretty nice question because it was pretty straightforward. I make all the migration from the other solution that we worked with in 1 month. So I spent one more time analyzing the possibilities and the tools. Was a process about 2 months, analyzing, choosing the right tool, doing the POCs. But to conclude all the migration process, I spent just 1 month. So another pretty good point.
Interesting. So to migrate off of your prior stack onto Hevo took you in total 1 month. What about do you have a viewpoint on sort of man months effort? So that was like beginning to end. About how much effort was it? I mean, were you working on it all day, every day, or how long did it take to actually migrate the pipelines?
Yes, I need to merge this migration with other small tasks that I would to address to, because as we our said, it's only me on the engineering analytics engineer process. But yeah, I believe that's pretty straightforward. 1 month, I probably spend 4 other days. We can reduce 4 days maybe with other tests, but one person, 1 month was sufficient for us to migrate all the process. And it is, I can say, just because we have some particularities about some kind of data types. We need to treat some geography data types. We have some problems in our search to addresses too. So that's why take 1 month to do it. But if I don't have these problems in our sources or these particularities on our source, could be less than that.
Awesome. Good. Now we're getting some questions. I think these are mostly, they don't want to hear from me, Giovanna. They want to hear from you. Maybe you can pick up these other questions as well.
Yes. Let's see. Apologies if you answered, but what stack did you move from? When you say 1 month for migration, how many sources are we talking? Okay. As I said, basically, maybe you are not here yet, but my main pipeline that I already have before move to Hevo, it's a pipeline with 3 main DB instances, each one with more than 1,000 databases in different schemas, with, sorry, more than 1,000 in average of the same schemas. So we have the same schema structure, but one of each client. But in each one of these schemas, we have more than 2,200 databases. So this makes something around 600,000 tables in total. I need to divide this in some groups, split this a little to help me to manage all these objects, but it's about this specific pipeline that I'm talking about. 3 instances with thousands of schemas. I hope that this answers your question. And about technologies, MySQL databases are the sources, okay? Another one, I came a little late. Does your company use Hevo for any distributed data synchronizing task? If that is part of your platform architecture design? No, we don't use it, but I could say depend of what we want about the synchronizing task. I believe that's not the case, the use case that you use to work with. Maybe Daniel can answer better this, but not part of my architectural design.
Any other parting thoughts from you, Giovanna? Anything that you want to, leave as a lesson learned from anybody in terms of how you've managed to move to a data-driven culture, change platforms? I'm sure this is what a lot of folks are on the call hoping to find out. Anything else that you would say, hey, do this, don't do this? Any other parting thoughts, and then we can move on.
Yeah, for LinkedIn, I could say spend time selecting your tools, as they will be the one that will help you to do your job. Make sure that you are with the right ones. So I believe that this is the biggest important thing that I could say here. I spend a lot of time researching the second time that I need to select the tool. And by now, this save a lot of time for me. So I believe that this is the biggest lesson here.
Awesome. Well, great to hear you say it. Obviously, we're super happy to have won your business. Super happy to have you hosted on a customer webinar. Hopefully the folks out there have gotten some value out of it. There's actually one more question that just came in, which was, did you build any connectors, either using Hevo's APIs or outside?
For our scenario, wasn't necessary. So all that we need was already on the Hevo list of connectors. So no.
Okay. Cool. Well, unless anybody else has a late breaking question, I think we'll end with a few minutes to spare. But thanks again to everybody who joined and listened in. Special thanks to you, Giovanna, and to SalesRabbit for your business and your trust. We certainly appreciate it.
My pleasure.
And, we'll look forward to doing more with you, but also doing more with everybody else out in the audience. So thanks again. and hopefully we'll hear from everybody soon.
Bye
All
bye.
right.